make some sense. If this is starting to make some sense, let's look at who's needed. Who is needed to put this kind of very powerful structure together? Well, in the creation of a trust, I already spilled the beans. 3 people are required, 3 parties: a settlor, trustee, and 1 or more beneficiaries. Okay, the settlor can be you, and you can also transition immediately to be a trustee, just on in the documents. I teach you how to do that. We're operating under U.S. common law, which means you are practicing your rights of natural law, i.e. God's law, and specifically the rights of contract law. So the trust reads like a contract between these 3 parties, okay? And then the beneficiaries, people typically think like life insurance. Life insurance allows you to name beneficiaries. Yeah, I want my son or my daughter. If you don't have your son or daughter, if you don't have children, that is, you might list a niece or a nephew or a cousin, your spouse, whoever, to be the beneficiaries of a life insurance policy. I take a different approach to a trust, because a trust, again, is a living, growing entity. It grows and it lives on for 99 years, whether you're still here or not. So I teach, let's make the trust the sole beneficiary. And in doing so, now the trust owns everything you place in it. You no longer own it, the trust owns it, but you fully control it as one of the trustees. So if I'm dealing with a single person, I encourage you to be one of the trustees. In fact, I'm going to teach you to be the head trustee, known as trust protector. You see that term in B, trust protector. I want that to be you. What does that mean? Head trustee. Okay. If you are a married couple, as 2 of you, husband and wife, then I would want 1 of you to act as settlor and the other to act as trust protector. All that does is simply gives you a full degree of separation between who created the trust and whose assets are in the trust. The settlor is just recognized on paper as the creator, but please understand, folks, anyone can place assets into a trust. A trust can receive assets from anywhere around the world in any asset category, which I'll show you in a moment. So the settlor, bottom line, it's just a paper position. It's a figurehead position. And the trust is not limited to receiving assets just from a settlor. So basically, anyone can act as settlor, but not anyone can act as trust protector, okay? And so we make the trust the sole beneficiary. Now, you don't have to list a bunch of people as beneficiaries. You don't have to worry about every time someone's born, a new kid is born to the family, you got to add them. Or someone dies, you got to take them out. Folks, that becomes nonsense. What you do is you make the trust the owner of everything. And at any given time, you've got grandchildren, great-grandchildren, nieces, nephews going off to college, you can bless them with a scholarship gift from this trust. You have a need to start a business, or one of your children or relatives want your help in starting a business, you can pull that business startup capital from the trust, assuming it's available. You want to gift to the church or a nonprofit, you can pull it from the trust. Is that church or nonprofit listed on Schedule B as a beneficiary? No. Okay, no, doesn't have to be. It's just working smart, not hard, and learning little tricks as to how you can get maximum control and maximum flexibility living through this type of trust. Okay, that's what I'm teaching you. Now, let's go on down to C. Selecting trustees. If you're the trust protector and your spouse acts as settlor, where are your other trustees coming from? This is where you want to look now beyond yourself and ask yourself, within the family unit, within your circle, whether that be family members, or it could be close friends to the family, non-family members. Okay, within that circle, do you know someone where if you act wisely, you could find a good trustee? Act wisely. A, reminds us they should be accountable and available. Individuals who have a personality type that makes them accountable, meaning they've got to humble themselves to you. You're the head trustee, and available when you need them to talk trust business. They must be available, not daily, not weekly, not even monthly, but once a quarter if you got a lot going on, once every 6 months, semi-annual, or annually if you just want to have one big trust meeting a year. And you, as trust protector, you and your spouse, you run the show the rest of the year. But they must be available when you need them. C, trustees should be capable. Well, you might say, well, Brother Ken, capable of what? Capable of helping you make business decisions, serious business decisions, investment decisions. Now, investment decisions does not mean they have to be experts in any particular asset investment type. They don't have to be experts in stocks or bonds or mutual funds or cryptocurrency or real estate, but are they capable of helping you have the conversation about what, based on what's happening in the world at any given time, which assets should be looked at if you have some disposable money in the trust that should be wisely invested, capable of helping you carry the thought and the decision as to how that money might best be invested to further grow and multiply for the further growth of the wealth of that trust. Okay, so experts know, but good common sense. Here's a good common sense point. Do they have the common sense to know when to call the expert, when to say, Ken, I think we've gotten to the point, we know we want to look at crypto, we're not experts. Let's now call a crypto expert. Or we want to invest in real estate. Let's now get hold of a real estate consultant. So are they capable of carrying you up to that point? Well, they're good enough. They don't have to be an attorney or an engineer or any expert in any given field. T, finally, last but not least, trustworthy. Folks, without a shadow of a doubt, we're talking about a trust, okay? In God we trust, and in your trustees, you absolutely must be able to trust. Now, some people often jokingly say, well, Ken, you can stop right there. I don't have anybody I can trust. Well, don't tune out on me, because that's really not true. And give me time, I will prove it to you. I will prove to every one of you that when you just allow your inner spirit to guide you as opposed to your criticisms of people, you'll be amazed at who you really have in your circle. And I would challenge anyone, have a conversation with me, and in less than half an hour, you'll have 3, 4, 5 people who would be honorable trustees. Well, at least two that you right now, you may not just be thinking about, because we tend, when we think about things like this, we tend to think distrust before trust. We tend to exclude people or eliminate people a little too quickly. So we got a little training we walk you through to help you unleash your creative thinking, to make you realize, yes, each and every one of you have 2 or 3 folks out there. They might not be family members, but they're so close to you, they're just like family. And yes, you have a few. So if you went through this whole process of thinking this through and paying for it, we'll go over costs later, what benefits would you get from all of this, from creating a trust structure? Well, you get the same benefits of the wealthy and famous. You get the same benefits of the government agencies and the professional sports leagues that operate through a trust. It begins with the once concept. You now own nothing. That is, everything you placed in trust, you no longer own it, but you fully control it. Folks, control is far better than ownership. And I'm really talking a spiritual, faith-based principle. I'm talking stewardship over ownership, okay? Stewardship says you recognize you don't own it. You've been blessed with it to use while you are here on this earth. You didn't bring it into the earth at some point, maybe through obedience, maybe through your education leading to a good job. Maybe you started a business and that business is very successful, but you came in the assets. You were blessed with those assets. And guess what? You cannot take them with you. So we're talking, let's for a minute put ownership to the side and think stewardship. Trustees are stewards. They're not owners. Trustees own nothing. They control it. We're going to teach you to be the head trustee, trust protect. You're going to protect those assets. You're going to grow those assets. You're going to set up a structure that passes those assets, not just to your next generation, but for generations to come. Another scripture where it says, a good man leaves an inheritance for his who? Children's children. Now, we've heard that scripture for those churchgoers, Christians, we've heard that all of our lives. But did you ever get an education on how to manifest that, on how to really bring that into your reality? Probably not. I didn't until I was in my 50s, okay? But this is how you bring it into your reality, a trust structure that allows you to control it, be good stewards, i.e. trustees, and position it so that it automatically passes from generation to generation to generation, as long as it's in that trust. Okay, if it's sold out of the trust, it's gone. If you give it away in a will, never makes a trust, it's gone when you die. The trust keeps it growing, keeps it moving through future generations. The trust satisfies Solomon's proverb. Now, B, equal status as the wealthy. Folks, wealthy know this. This is wealth concept 101. They don't want to own it, they just want to control it. C, shield of privacy. You get maximum privacy over your family, over your lifestyle, over your spending. You get maximum privacy when you live through a trust. Why? Because a trust is what we call blind. It's a blind entity. Doesn't mean the trust can't see. It means no one can see into the trust. No one but you and your trustees. What does that mean, Ken? That means no one knows what's in your trust but you. You could own 1,000 pieces of real estate in 25 states across America. No one would know it. You can have a vacation home in the Bahamas. No one would know it unless you invite them to go with you to the Bahamas one weekend. Oh, I didn't know you had all this. And so, folks, that privacy has great value. Why? Because if an identity thief is looking for someone to be a target, are they going to come after you if they don't see any assets in your name? No. They're going to the person who has a house in their name, car in their name, bank accounts they can break into in their name. Oh, yeah, and a good identity thief will sell that information to a hacker who can get in all that. The thief steals your ID, they sell it to the next party who's a professional hacker to hack you out of everything they can possibly touch. And that happens every day. I'm helping a client deal with that right now. His bank account got hacked into, and we've been fighting it with TD Bank for the last couple of weeks. So that shield of privacy is important. That shield of privacy even works for privacy against the U.S. government. What I mean by that, if IRS wrongfully now in this example, for example's sake only, if they wrongfully accuse you of owing taxes, okay? And they come after you, what are they doing? First, they threaten you to pay it. If you don't pay it within a certain time period, what do? They can slap a lien. They have the authority to slap a lien on any asset that they see in your name. Now, listen to what I just said. They have the legal right, even though it's illegal, they have the right to slap a lien or seizure or freeze. All those things mean the same thing. On your bank account, if it's in your name, on your house, automobiles, any assets in your name. But if you're living through a trust, guess what? Those assets are not in your name. Why not? Because you transferred them to the trust. You now control them through the trust. The trust owns it. And under trust law, anyone coming after you cannot touch the assets in your trust, because technically speaking, even though I just said it, it's not yours. So it's really not your trust. It's a private family trust, not owned by anybody in the family, but rather controlled by you and the family members whom you appoint as trustees. Folks, there's no more powerful structure than that. Might take a few days for that to sink in, but that's why the shield of privacy is built around you and your family when you live through a trust. Additionally, liabilities are limited against you, just in the same way that an LLC or corporate structure limits liabilities against a business owner. So if a business owner creates an LLC, limited liability corporation, or a S Corp, C Corp type corporation, they have now shifted the liabilities of the business operations to where? To the business entity, off their family and to the business entity. We've got someone who accidentally got into screen share. Okay, I'm going to ignore that, but just ignore the marks you see appearing on the screen. I'm not doing that, but we just got some things popped up on the screen. Just ignore those. Lost my train of thought. Let me take a minute. Oh, LLCs, corporations. These little squigglies popping up on my screen just threw me out, folks. LLCs and corporations, they get liability protections. They, being the business owner, gets liability protections, significant protections through those business entities. But guess what? I don't expect all of you, or even most of you, to have an LLC or a corporation necessarily. Now, if you do, great. We can put that under the trust too. But if you don't, watch this. The private family trust was created to give the family structure, the members of the family, the same liability protections that corporate structures and business structures gives to business owners. So in the business world, you have the corporate structure providing you liability limitations, liability protections. In the private family world, you have the private family trust. Folks, that's very powerful. I hope that made sense. But moving on, in addition to liability protections, you've got tax protections. You get to write off taxes. I'm sure most of you have never even imagined writing off. Like every month, you pay an electric bill on your house. Why? Because the house is in your name. Therefore, the electric bill is in your name. The gas, the water, the lawn care, the new roof you will put on a house if you live there long enough and get enough storms like Georgia. The upkeep, maintenance, routine repairs, periodic home improvements, then your automobile, tires, gas, oil, upkeep, maintenance. You pay those bills without thinking. And 99% of us never write them off. The 1% that writes them off, I say, I'll give it benefit of doubt, maybe 5% that write those off. It's because you are self-employed or business owner and you claim those as business expenses, not personal expenses. You're claiming those as business expenses. If you're doing that, good. Yes, you've been writing this off, but otherwise you haven't. Plus, even as business expenses, if I claim 30% of my home as my place of business, I can then only write off 30% of those utilities, 30% of my taxes, 30% of those expenses. But under a trust, please hear me, under a trust, living through a trust, after you have placed the assets in the trust, they must be trust assets, can't still be in your name. But once you transfer those assets to the trust, we show you how to transfer cars, homes, everything. Once they've been transferred, now every expense incurred by you holding that asset is a tax deduction. Every expense against the home, every expense against the automobile, every expense against anything else you do are now tax deductible expenses on a 1041. You won't do that. You cannot do this on a 1040. Please listen, I'm talking 1041, something you probably never seen before. 1040, we know, 1040 A, 1040B, 1040 short form, 1040 long form, 1040EZ. I don't know if that one still exists, but 1041 is for estates and trust. And again, probably less than 1 or 2% of you have even heard of it or even seen it. But if you plug 1041 into the search engine on irs.gov, it will just magically appear. Now, if you take 3 or 4 minutes and try to find it, good luck. But if you type it in 1041, it'll just pull it up from deep in that database. Now, why'd you have to search for it? Because folks, this is not the stuff the government wants you to hear. They don't want all of us writing off your utilities. For goodness sake, IRS would never collect any money. We would all zero our taxes if you knew this, wouldn't you? If you knew this 20 years ago, would you still have been paying your electric bill for 20 years? No. Well, yeah, you still would have been paying it, but would you be deducting it or not deducting it come tax time? Okay, if you had known this 20, 30, 40 years ago, of course, every year you would have deducted these expenses legally on a 1041 had you known it. You didn't know it then, but you're learning this now. Better late than never. Moving on, beyond the taxes. And by the way, most taxes are reduced, as I just said, because of tax benefits you start getting that you don't get right now. Tax write-offs you get that through a trust, you don't get through your name. And then there are some taxes completely eliminated. Got to mention that. Inheritance taxes eliminated. Property transfer taxes from a person into a trust or from a trust to a trust. Those property transfer taxes, zero. Thousands of dollars saved on property transfers, zero. Elimination of probate court risk, protection of your family assets and income. Folks, you would never have to worry about losing a family asset to probate court. Never. You wouldn't have to worry about that. I've got clients I help through probate at least 3, 4 times a year because someone in the family died without a trust. Now, even if you die with a will is subject to probate. Doesn't mean it won't hold up, but it's subject to a probate review. Why? Because if someone challenges that will, they say, oh, that's not my uncle's signature, or that's not my mom's signature. I'm challenging it. You got to go to probate court. But a trust cannot, by the structure of it, absolutely cannot be considered in probate. Why? Because the assets in the trust were not owned by the deceased party. Only thing that can go through probate is the assets of the deceased. So if the deceased had a trust and placed things in a trust, they can't be argued in probate court. And along with that, you just minimize or eliminated those nasty family disputes that break out when people die without a structure in place. And all of us have seen that. I know every one of you on this Zoom tonight have seen an argument, a breakup, a family breakdown when a house or automobiles or nice clothing, nice car was left in the question, well, who gets it? There was no will to define it. There was no trust. Less than 1.5% of all Americans have ever lived through a trust, probably less than that ever will. So 98% of us have probably seen those arguments, okay? Then protection of insurance death benefits. We're generally asked, who do you want to be beneficiary of your life insurance? Guess what? Your life insurance agent probably never said you might want to consider a trust. Number one, because they don't know about trust themselves. They're not trained on trust when they get their licensing for insurance, Series 600, Series 700, whatever. They're not trained on trust. So they don't know to tell you that. And they just know, therefore, you can list whoever you want to as beneficiaries, but they don't talk trust. But if you make the trust a beneficiary, guess what? Now you've got more control over how those assets can be a bigger blessing than if you give them away. I'll say that again. How those assets can be a bigger blessing than giving them away. So what do I mean by that? If you give the assets away, folks, if you give them away, it's over, it's done. Those assets will bless someone at that time, but there's nothing generational. There is no legacy, and it's over, it's done. However, if you make the beneficiary, the trust, the beneficiary of the death policy on that insurance policy, make it the trust. Now watch this. You could leave a resolution saying, whenever you pass away, you want the benefits from such and such insurance policy to go here or to go there, to go to a scholarship fund or to go to the church, or part of it to go to creation of a community development center, or part of it to go to your favorite nonprofit. See, you can divvy that death benefit of that life insurance policy up by leaving those instructions for your trustees. Are you still here to do it? No. But your surviving trustees under trust law are held to carrying out those resolutions. And so I am the recipient of the benefits of insurance policies and the benefits of the growth of assets in a trust created by a family I never even knew. I was a recipient of a scholarship fund that got me through an engineering degree, that 4 years at Vanderbilt University, Nashville, Tennessee, that launched me into a very successful engineering career where I became what you call a rocket scientist. Specifically, I did not design rockets, but I designed satellite systems. Some of you might hear all the hoopla of the pictures coming down from NASA, from the new James Webb Space Telescope. James Webb Space Telescope was preceded by the Hubble Space Telescope. The Hubble was built by Johns Hopkins University. Well, that's where I worked. I was a design engineer, worked with those teams. The Hubble Space Telescope was not one of my, I call it my babies, but I did other satellites. Mine was more specifically secret and top secret stuff, working with DOD and NASA, the kind of stuff you're not supposed to know about, but the ones like Hubble. And if you're just curious, go out there and pull up James Webb Space Telescope pictures. Google Space Telescope pictures, and you'll be amazed. You'll be blown away, by what you see. But that happened. That degree happened. That because of a scholarship. The occupation that I was able to walk into that put me in a six-figure income all happened, or all can be traced back to the generosity that someone presented through a trust. They didn't know me. I didn't know them. They were probably deceased when I was blessed. Possibly my scholarship was paid by someone's life insurance death benefits. The same thing could happen for you if you place those benefits in a trust instead of giving them away one time. Your choice, but I think the better choice is to position those benefits to be a blessing to many instead of a blessing to just one or two. You can give some to your children, some to your nieces and nephews, but just save some for future growth, okay? You can do that through a trust. Then you can see three more things there. The trust, folks, is the foundation. It is the foundation for creating generational wealth and leaving a legacy of education, a legacy of fighting homelessness or fighting poverty or childhood obesity, whatever you want your legacy to be, you could fund it through your trust. And then for those of us who may one day need some nursing care, nursing home care, assisted living care, guess what? If all your assets in a trust, when the government looks at what you can afford to pay, instead of paying $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, you might get away with, after bare bones, not might, you will get away with paying the absolute minimum, because Medicaid and Medicare will pick it up. But if Medicaid, Medicare, and other similar government programs see you have a house in your name, you have a nice car in your name, you have cryptocurrency accounts, no, they're not going to help you. They're going to say, no, Mr. Harrison, you sell your aunt and uncle's assets, and we'll use those assets to keep them in this nursing home for as long as we need to. And That was my reality one year. It might be your reality one point in life. My bottom line to you is if your assets in a trust, they cannot count against you, and therefore you will get favorable treatment through Medicaid, Medicare, and similar programs if you yourself need these type programs personally, or if mom and dad need these later. And so if you put a trust together and include mom and dad's assets, guess what? Mom and dad could get these type of services for far, far less than what it would cost if they still had those assets in their name. Okay, and real life, folks, that's real talk. And that's where UCL, it helps us qualify for Medicaid, Medicare, and many more benefits. So all in all, folks, there are just incredible benefits waiting for those who live through a trust. That's why wealthy people don't pay the taxes we pay. Wealthy people don't pay for long-term assistance if and when they need it, even though they might have millions in the trust. If it didn't show up in their bank account, they get the same Medicaid, Medicare that anyone else would get. So here's a list of assets which can be protected through a trust. It's not limited to these, but look at that list: personal home, rental properties, any type of real estate investments, the rental properties. We urge you, I would teach you to place those in an LLC or business structure, and then we make the trust the owner of the LLC or the business. That's how we do that. Now you got double layers of protection, double layers of liability protections, double layers of tax write-offs. Investment accounts, that's any type of brokerage account, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, Forex, foreign exchange accounts, all of those can be operated through your trust, folks. Okay, just stopping that phone call. Intellectual property. I've got clients. We have clients with patents and trademarks, copyrights. So if you have, I've got a client up in Connecticut that wrote a first book, then wrote a second book, and put those things in a trust. You can do that. Any type intellectual property, you can do that. And then we've got any type bank accounts, but what you do, you create a bank account under the name of the trust. You don't have to touch your personal accounts because you're gonna still be living as an individual, okay? So you need your personal accounts to live as a person, but we're gonna help you open checking and savings accounts in the name of the trust to handle all your trust business. So you're paying the utilities for the house in the trust, coming from the trust checking account, not your personal. Why? Because now at the end of the tax year, those are expenses you can recoup at tax time. Okay, we're gonna help you, teach you how to do that in an organized fashion. Holding companies and subsidiaries, any kind of corporation, LLCs, any type of corporation can be owned through this trust. And then cryptocurrencies, any type of crypto can be owned through the trust. Whatever your favorite cryptos are, they can be owned through your trust. And folks, any other asset that you could imagine placing in your name, you can own through the trust. So any type of asset, you think, you name it, yes. Foreign or domestic, yes, you can own it through the trust, okay? So if you go back up to that set of questions that we started with, we've answered those. What is a trust? You know, it's a relationship. Who runs a trust? The trustees. Who benefits from the trust? If you make the trust the default beneficiary, anyone who you want to bless benefits. Are trusts regulated? We're operating under US common law, therefore, you and your trustees are the only ones that regulate your trust. It's so powerful, it's so private. Guess what? You don't even have to register this particular type of trust. Why is that? How is that? It's a non-statutory trust, meaning this trust is not created under state law. Remember I said under God's law, under natural law, under contract law, not under state law. So it's non-statutory, not subject to regulation. We teach you how to regulate. Can a trust own foreign assets? Just cover that. Absolutely yes. What's the cost of a trust? About to share that. Does a trust die when you die? Nope. Generational. This particular one, I'll urge you to carry for 99 years. Can a trust own crypto? Just answered that. And we're going to stop in just a moment and answer any other questions that you all may have. Okay, so get your thoughts together, get your questions together, get your comments, questions together. We're about to open up for Q&A and have some fun with this in just a sec. But before I do that, there's a summary, just 7 reasons you need a private trust. I just covered all of those, folks. That's the 7 most powerful, but we just covered that. And then every Monday night, to reinforce this to people who become our clients, okay, every Monday for years now, since about 2015, 2016, from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern, we do a Monday night private family trust call. The first half hour is dedicated to a spotlight topic. The spotlight topic might be how to hold crypto in your trust so it never is seen in the public eye, how to transfer assets into a trust from your name into the trust. We get down and dirty into the details. The second half hour is the introductory language. You know, what's a trust? Like tonight. Tonight was an introduction. So the second half hour is just a faster pace of this introduction. And it's a conference line. You see it right there. And so if this is of interest to you, even if you're not ready to make a decision, you want to just join in, chime in on Mondays when you're available and hear more, learn more, get more questions answered beyond the night, you're welcome. But folks, the best thing you could do is call me, text me and say, I want to talk. You hit upon some things, I have questions, or I'm ready to go, or I need to wait until my GOPX is realized, but after that, Ken, I'm full steam ahead. Or hey, I'd like to go ahead and put my trust in place now. So tell me what it costs so I can get it in place now. Well, let's show you that real quick. And there are going to be some special family discounts because you were nice enough to join us on a Friday night, okay? So folks, the regular cost is $47.95. And that is the cost of all the training, the trust documentation, and 6 months of support. Once you engage with us, you have us for 6 months. That 6-month period starts with a 2-hour session, a 2-hour uninterrupted training, coaching session. We email you the trust documents, about 45-page document. You pull it up on your favorite screen, laptop, desktop, tablet, whatever, and you follow along. Simple, dirt simple. And then after we get your 2-hour training, we let you fill in the blanks. Yeah, who's going to be your trustees? What are their names and addresses? Who's going to be authorized on the trust bank accounts along with yourself? We want at least 2 people on every account. So God forbid if something happens to you, another person, another trustee has access to those accounts to keep the trust running. After you fill in all the blanks, we check it thoroughly. I check it with a fine-tooth comb, make sure everything's perfect. And you print it out, get certain pages signed and notarized. You have your trust at that point. We then immediately set you up with the bank to go get a trust account open. TD Bank, Fifth Third, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase. You get to pick the bank. We help you set up an appointment to walk into that bank. And when you walk out, you will have a trust account, something less than, according to banks, less than 1.5%. Let's just say less than 2% of all Americans have. And folks, they treat you like royalty. They treat you so special when they know you might have $1.50 in that trust account, but you will get treated like royalty because it's not what you have in it from the beginning. It's what they think you're expecting. Because see, expectation is, or no, the trust is evidence of expectation. That's the best way I can put it. The trust is evidence of an expectation that you got lottery winnings coming. Expectation, you got GOPX coming. An expectation, you got a lawsuit proceed coming. Okay. An expectation, you got an inheritance. Someone just passed, you heard you got 50,000 coming. Okay. They know if you were taught to create a trust, that's coming to that trust account. So that's why they treat you special. It's not what you got right now. It's what they expect. You must be expected. So $47.95 is regular cost for our program in 6 months, including getting your bank account and sticking around for 6 months to teach you how to live through that trust. Tonight, everyone automatically gets a group discount for coming through Sister Rosa and the other leaders, the incredible leaders of GOPX who made tonight's audience possible. Everyone gets a $250 discount, an additional discount of $250 if you respond by text or phone call to me in the next 24 hours saying, Ken, I think I want to get this. I just want to reserve that $250 discount. Just with a phone call or text and a little conversation so I can get your questions answered. Then you can go away if you need a little more time, or you can sign up and we set up your 2-hour session, which officially kicks off your 6-month program. Either way, call or text in the next 24 hours, you're locked into that additional discount. Then if you're a veteran or active duty, another $250 automatically. That discount also applies to certain other categories. So when you call me, let me know your background. For instance, I don't know them all by heart, but for instance, education, clergy, frontline, first responders, frontline workers, emergency workers, medical care, police, fire, and some others. Retired on what would be considered fixed income, a disability between you or your spouse. Folks, we are going to bless you with these discounts, okay? So you end up paying somewhere, depending on the amount of discounts, $4,000, $4,200, up $4,500 maybe if you just get to $250. So, well, everybody who really want to consider this, you all should get at least $500 discount. So with that $42.95 being the cost, you might say, well, Ken, how does that compare to the market? Well, folks, the market has such a broad spectrum. There is no such thing as the average cost of a trust. Why? Because there's an outfit in Texas I've gotten some clients from because they start at 25,000. They have one program that's 25,000 without 6 months of support. They have another program that's 50,000. Now the highest I've heard ever is the 50,000. That's an outfit out of Texas. I don't know their name. If I knew it, I'd give it to you. You'd be welcome to call. But I've gotten a handful of people who heard about them first and then heard about me, and they say, well, Ken, thank God we found you. We're about to pull the trigger to figure out how to pay 25,000. Folks, it's a whole lot easier to figure out how to pay a little less than 5,000. So if you're wondering, how do I compare? If you went to a licensed attorney, I have law experience, law school experience, but I did not go and take law courses for sake of being an attorney. I'm not an attorney. If you're my friend and you're an attorney, it's okay. I have a goddaughter who's an attorney. I have clients who are attorneys, but otherwise, I don't really even like attorneys. But if you're my friend, I love you. Just joking. But I know we have a little concern about attorneys, so I'm telling you, I'm not an attorney, but quite experienced in law. So when you look at the comparison between what I do and what an attorney might do, just know this. First and foremost, I'm an educator. First and foremost, I'm here to educate you. With the education, you make the decision. And if that decision is to get a trust, I then further educate you on how to create your trust, appoint your trustees, and live through that trust for 6 months, how to live through the trust. But please hear me carefully. There is no benefit, zero benefit to having a trust. It's a waste of money if you just have a trust. The benefits are in living through the trust, which is why we feel we must give you 6 months that an attorney won't give you. That attorneys I've talked to, typically $8,000 to 12,000. A few fell at 15, but most of them fell 8 to 12. You might say, well, Ken, I heard you can get a trust for $995. Well, guess what? You can get my trust for $995, but you won't get 6 months of support. You won't get all the education and consulting, unlimited consulting for 6 months. That's the biggest cost of what I do. But if you think you can master learning this by yourself, yeah, I'll license you my document for $995. So, and my document is far better than what you might find on LegalZoom for something like $995 or $1,500. Okay, but please don't do that. Don't shortchange yourself. Don't. Number one reason: do it right, learn it right. You stay on the right side of the law. Number one. Number two, you'll recoup the cost in tax savings alone. If not the first year, certainly by the second year, you've recouped the cost, and forever for the next 99 years, folks, you are living like the wealthy. You are living the wants. Own nothing, control everything. That's the way to do it. I'm glad I had a chance to share it with you. I'm gonna ask Rosa, since Rosa come in, and open us up for Q&A.
Wow, wow, wow. I think we all agree that we have been fed some good information that is valuable for our future and our children's and children's future. So we are going to get started here now with questions, and I do have some. And Ken, what I'm going to do right now for the sake of everyone is I'm going to put your name and your telephone number, okay,
yes,
in the chat. So we're doing that now, and then we are going to start answering some of the questions that I see here, okay?
Perfect. And while she's typing that in, folks, you can call that number 404-454-5073. Call or text 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. If you make an appointment for your training to take place on a weekend, that's fine, but we must schedule that in advance. But 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time. And again, it's all about creating relationship. Business, first and foremost, is about relationships. So we create the relationship, and through that relationship, get all your questions answered. And when you're ready on your time, we'll help you create that trust. If you're ready, excuse me, if you're ready now, let's get going. Need a little time, you want to wait till something drops, just let me know. Not a problem. We'll be here. God willing, we'll be here. All right. Questions coming in. All right.
Okay, I'm going to stop.